morning shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight with your award-winning host, Dale Davidson. Dale interviews fascinating guests from top-ranked celebrities to people just like you who have an important story to tell. For more than 15 years, Dale is broadcast every week from the fabulous Las Vegas Strip. He finds the people who really make Las Vegas a one-of-a-kind city and lets the world know just what's happening in this remarkable town. You'll discover why 50 million people visit the entertainment capital of the world every year. Stay tuned for another exciting episode of Las Vegas Tonight.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. Boy, are you going to be glad you tuned in. We've got a terrific guest, a famous guest, a great guy. His name's Jay Schroeder, a Super Bowl quarterback and a godly man and a wonderful family guy. And we so appreciate him coming on. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
We're honored to have you.
Well, it's a blessing to be here, that's for sure. And thanks for doing what you do here.
Oh, you bet. We met just a couple of weeks ago at the Mayor's Praise and Prayer Breakfast.
We did.
And you were the keynote speaker. You've done that more than once, I can tell.
I have done that a few times, yes, yes.
But talking about, I was really inspired by your discussion of what Jesus has meant in your life.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, you know, in my case, Jesus has guided me through everything. And he's taken me, you know, places I've never dreamt of going.
Oh,
and I look back now as I get older, and I go, you know, it certainly wasn't me. You know, he had a big hand in putting me in the right places and allowing me to use the gifts that he gave me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your childhood a little bit. Where'd you grow up, and how did you end up in California? Because I know you didn't start there.
Didn't start in California. I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So,
Midwestern boy.
Good Midwestern boy around all the cattle and cheese and all that good stuff. And then we moved when I was 5 or 6. We moved to Excelsior, Minnesota, so we got a little colder, which was nice. And I remember jumping out of the second-story window to shovel out the front door. As a kid, I thought it was fun. Right now, I want nothing to do with that. So we'll just leave that there. And I'm very happy to be in the desert here and welcoming that. And then when I was in 6th grade, my dad got a new job. He said, good news is he got a new job. Bad news is it was in California. And I was, being a baseball guy, you know, loved to play baseball. It was like I was packed and ready to go. So it was good.
Tomorrow would be fine, Dad.
Tomorrow would be good. That's right.
Yeah, and you were thrilled with the concept of playing baseball every day of the year.
I could play in California. You know, it doesn't snow. I mean, you know, ever. Yeah, I mean, you got to go way up in the mountains to get it. But we weren't planning to be there. So my first thought was, man, I can play baseball year round.
Oh yeah.
Whereas in Minnesota, you know, you've got about a 3-month window that you can play.
Same thing in Arizona, where I lived for 10 years. And I remember moving to Arizona from Cleveland, Ohio, and the U of A, I was listening on the radio, the U of A, the Arizona Wildcats was playing Michigan. And they said, Arizona is 21-4. Michigan is 3-1. Like, you guys are not playing very much.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And you know, when I was in high school, I ended up playing on 3 different baseball teams.
Wow.
So you know, I'd wake up in the morning, my mom would go, "What color uniform do you need for tonight?" And so I enjoyed it. I loved playing the game. That was
your first love in
that
sports,
was my love,
wasn't it?
Yeah, baseball was my first love, and you know. I was blessed to be able to do it for a long time.
And you were a catcher most of the time?
I was a catcher. It's all I ever did. Yeah.
Is that right? Wow.
It's all I ever did from a little kid on was a catcher. So
I loved your story during your speech where you talked about tossing the ball over the center field wall. That's a guy who can throw stuff.
Yeah. You know, that's it. I found out early on in life that God blessed me with an ability, and that was to throw things.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of how I was going to use that. So when I was in the minor leagues, I used to stand at home plate and throw it over the center field wall, and then they put me out in right field. So the last throw, in warm-ups, you'd always throw to home plate and everything else. Well, I would bet the other team that I could throw it out of the stadium. So my manager wasn't real happy, but it was a lot of fun to do it.
That's a fun bet.
It's
It
a fun
truly
bet.
is.
Yeah, it's a fun bet.
So you were picked early in the amateur draft, weren't you?
I was the third player picked in the first round coming out of high school.
Wow.
So yeah, I was very fortunate. Toronto Blue Jays picked me early, and I had a chance to pursue my dream.
And then how long did you play baseball?
Played 4 years of minor league baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got the idea from reading your bio that you were a little perturbed about how long it takes to get into the majors.
Well,
is that what happened?
Well, yeah, it all depends on how well you play, you know. And at the beginning, I was splitting time because I was going to UCLA and playing football, and then I gave that up to go play baseball full time because that's really what I wanted to do. And they kept changing positions on me. They had a couple of catchers on the big league club, so then they asked me to play outfield when I first got there. Then they asked me to play third base. Then they let me catch. So it was a little frustrating at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then tell me how does one move from professional baseball to professional football? What's the process?
The process is long and tedious, but God's got to be in it. There's no question about it. He's got to open doors and do those things. I was very fortunate. I had a college coach that I called when I was playing baseball and told him I'd like to get back into football. And he said, great, you can get back into school. And I was like, not really sure I want to get back into school. And I didn't find out until after my first year in the NFL that he had written a letter to every NFL team on my behalf.
Is that right?
And from that, I just did individual workouts all over Southern California. The GMs and coaches would fly in. I'd drive around and go throw the football, a couple times a day and run and do all that fun stuff for them. And lo and behold, I ended up getting drafted in the third round.
By the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
What a glorious history with that team. And you fit right in. I mean, you were a star on that team.
Thank you.
You got a starting position due to something unfortunate, though.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate. And it's something that, all of us as players, we all know that if you play the game long enough, you're going to get hurt.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just your body's not meant to take that and all that. But you never want to get hurt to a point where it's career ending. And Joe Theismann was the quarterback that was there. I was his backup, and he had a career-ending injury.
I remember when
he broke his leg.
Oh,
and, both bones.
Horrendous.
Yeah, it was nasty, and everybody knew it was bad. But that was the opportunity for me to go in and play, and it was a Monday night game against the Giants, and no pressure in that regard as a 23-year-old kid, and then you come to find out that President Reagan's in the stands. So, not a big deal. Not a big deal. It all worked out.
You had some pretty remarkable games playing for the Redskins. Tell us some of your favorite.
The favorite was probably that first night that I came in. Got to play for Joe Gibbs, who is a phenomenal man, phenomenal Christian man, and fantastic coach. I mean, he's in 2 Hall of Fames. I mean, the guy is pretty good, right?
Oh, yes.
And all that. But I came into that game, and his theory was starters practice together, and they expect to play together. So as a backup, I had to work out on my own. I really never took a snap with the first team offense until that night.
Right.
So when Joe got hurt, I went in on second down, and everybody's looking at me like, who are you? And they thought I was a glorified ball boy or something, right? And all that. And of course, everybody in the entire world knew, hey, I'm going to hand the ball off the first play. Mm-hmm. And so I did, and it went probably another -2 yards because obviously the Giants knew that too.
Yeah, they knew.
And then on third down, I dropped back and threw a pass, and Art Monk was going down the right sideline and threw the ball down there. He actually dove and caught the ball for a 44-yard gain and changed everything because the entire attitude in our huddle changed, and we went on to.
This kid knows what he's doing.
This kid knows what he's doing. He can throw it. I went on to throw 2 touchdowns, and we beat the Giants that night. So it was terrific. Very fun night.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
what an experience.
Yeah, it's an experience like none other. I mean, you play your whole life to be on a championship team. you know, and to be able to say we are the champions, because you realize all the hard work, and we had a phenomenal football team. We really did, and the Giants had won it the year before, and we went down and played Denver Broncos down in San Diego, and you know, it's funny because as you're playing the game, you really don't see it all, you know, everything that goes on with the Super Bowl. You're really kind of focused, and we were very fortunate to come out on top that night.
Wow. What a great honor. And did you ever have the opportunity to share your faith with the media and your fellow players as you went along?
Yeah, and every team has chapel service, and you know, it's funny because, you know, once I ended up getting traded to the Raiders, I was actually in charge of all the chapel services.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Which meant I had a sermon in my back pocket, because if the speaker that, you know, was supposed to show up didn't, you were on. And I remember one time we were in Minnesota, and it was cold and blizzary. We're getting ready to play, and Art Shell, our head coach, was in there, and he's looking around, and I'm like, the speaker's not here. And he just looked. He goes, "Okay, it's you." So you know, you're there not only ministering to your teammates, but I got the head coach. You know, so it was quite the experience, and I was very fortunate to be able to do it.
You know, football players, baseball players are lucky in a way because there is fellowship of Christian athletes and athletes in action. You've been involved with those organizations.
Very much so.
What does it do for the younger guys, for the college kids and the high school kids, to introduce them to Christ?
Well, you have to let them know there's more than just the game. You know, there's life, and you're going to experience the ups and downs, and to have somebody to be there, to be able to be a sounding board, you know, during those good times and bad times, and we all go through it.
Sure.
I tell people all the time, when I was playing minor league baseball, if I hit a home run, I was the greatest guy in the world. If I struck out 3 times, stay away, you know, stay away.
Nobody wants to talk to you.
And I don't want to talk to anybody, you know, and it gets frustrating at that point. So to have those opportunities and to be able to minister and just share, you know, those thoughts and feelings as you go through them is phenomenal.
Yeah. Did you have a life-changing event? I know when you were playing minor league ball, you got involved with a chapel service.
Yeah, Baseball Chapel America.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, a gentleman by the name of Rip Kirby at the time was running Baseball Chapel America, and he came. We were playing during the season, and I went to one of the chapel services. I think it was somewhere in North Carolina. You know, you play in all these small towns in the minor leagues, and I'm not sure where. But then he told me he lived in Tampa, and I would go down to Dunedin, which was, you know, 20 miles away from Tampa for winter ball and everything else. And he said, "Come on by." So he kind of discipled me on Wednesday nights, and one night he just challenged me. He said, "What would you do if God asked you to do something different?" And you know, "What do you mean? This is what I'm supposed to do." He goes, "How do you know?"
Yeah.
"How do you know? You seem frustrated with this." And lo and behold, you know, you start praying about it, you think about it, you start listening to God. And, you know, I don't think it's as dramatic for a lot of people it is for me, because one night all of a sudden I'm laying there and I hear this voice that says, "You need to go play football."
Really?
And I'm like, okay, that's weird, because I'd left school, you know, 4 years earlier, and this voice is
and
like,
you were playing for the Bruins now. And then all of a sudden,
and all of a sudden now he's like, "You need to go play football." And, you know, so his hand was in it the whole way, and to get through all the workouts, to get drafted, and you know, I'm a guy that played in 11 college football games and made an 11-year career in the NFL. So God's got to be in it a whole lot.
See, that's so unusual. I've never heard that story before.
No. I don't do anything normal, so and that's okay. That's okay. So it's okay to be abnormal as long as you're following the right directions.
Oh, yeah. Tell me a little bit about your family. You've got children.
I do.
Tell me about your kids.
I have three children, 37, 35, and 24. I have 6 grandkids, and very blessed. All my kids are now healthy and grown up, and it's very fun to be around and to see them live their own lives.
And you had a son who had a real health scare, didn't you?
Yeah, my middle son is a 2-time brain tumor survivor.
Wow.
My 34-year-old, and I just had a chance to spend a few days with him here in Las Vegas.
Oh,
and
that's nice.
He's got 2 beautiful kids, and so he's my miracle kid, and we'll always have a bond that's a little bit different.
Sure.
Because I actually left football at one point in time to spend 7 days in intensive care with him.
Did you feel the Lord brought you through that trial, or were you angry at God? Because
I was never angry at God.
Yeah.
I was never angry at God. And, God puts us in positions. He's never going to put us somewhere that we can't handle.
Yeah.
And, you're devastated because it's your child.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yes,
You're devastated.
tough.
And, the doctor told us when he went into his initial surgery, it's 50-50 he'll come out. And that no parent wants to hear that.
No.
And then, the doctor tells me, well, if he does come out, he might not remember you. And I'm like, what do you mean? He may, he's 6 years old, and so when we were in intensive care, he woke up. I was there, and I still remember when he focused on me. When you meet somebody and you can tell in their eyes that they know who you are. That's what it was. And then I very simply just said, okay, Lord, we'll handle whatever comes.
What a huge relief.
And I had no idea that he was going to bless us and completely healed him.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We need to take a real brief break. I promise to make it brief because we got a lot to talk about. We'll be back with Jay Schroeder on Las Vegas Tonight right after this. Hi, I'm Dale Davidson, host of Las Vegas Tonight. Radio has an enduring place in the heart of America. Sometimes it's music that can enliven your spirit or keep you company when you need some. More often for me, it's just been the right spoken word or two that can quiet my mind and soul. Radio brings me a reassuring word in the quiet of night or a welcoming voice early in the morning as I shake off the night's sleep and find my way into God's purpose for my day. And always, I find the best radio station is the one that brings me the best news, the gospel of Jesus Christ. My favorite radio station is KKVV in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's still right where it's been for years at 1060 on the AM dial, hovering over Sin City like a gospel airship, broadcasting the good news of the abounding love that Jesus Christ has for every single one of us. No matter who you are or where you live, you can receive God's Word via the KKVV Gospel Airship. Just go to kkvv.com and click on Listen Live. KKVV is using all the tools that God's provided them, like podcasting and video streaming and video on demand, to produce programs that lift up our fellow believers and save the lost. If you feel a calling to speak to others about Jesus Christ on your very own show, pick up the phone and call the station. They'll be happy to tell you how. Call KKVV today at 702-731-5588 or drop them an email at kkvvradio@hotmail.com. Please join me in becoming part of the KKVV family. You'll be glad you did. Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. Jay Schroeder is with us. We've talked football, we've talked baseball. Most importantly, we've talked grandpahood.
Yeah.
And that's all. Isn't it so great? Grandkids, aren't they the best?
Grandkids are great. I wish I could have them first. But, now the scary part is how fast it goes.
I know.
I have a grandson that's going into high school, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And
I've got a 16-year-old too, my oldest one. Yeah.
My daughter-in-law and my son met as freshmen in high school, so she's having a hard time with sending her son to high school, knowing, hey, this could be life-changing. So, I said, really? So how's that working out for you? So I tease her a little bit about it, but I have one going in high school.
Yeah, you never think you can love another human as much as a grandchild.
My gosh, they're amazing. Yeah,
just amazing situations. Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit. You have a daughter as well, right?
I do. I have a daughter. She's 24. She's back in Michigan. She is my fun-loving, daughter that loves to do theater. She loves animals.
Great.
She's actually a professional dog groomer.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because I thought it was when she said she wanted to do that, I thought it was perfect because she loves being around animals.
Oh, sure.
She just loves them and everything else. And she has cats in her place, and then she goes to work and loves on dogs. So
when you
very
have
happy.
a niche like that, and you love it,
Yeah.
you just got to really encourage
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, she sends me pictures all the time of these little ones, and then she gets the big ones, and so it's a lot of fun.
My 35-year-old, we talked about how his birthday is today, and then you ran through your family birthdays and anniversaries. I wondered what he was going to do with high school. He was an athlete, He played some baseball, and he was a drummer, and he enjoyed that. Academics were not his thing, So what's he going to do? And he started, after he got out of high school, he started playing golf.
Oh, nice.
And he had picked it up as a cart boy in one of the country clubs here in town. And the next thing you know, he turned pro. He's a professional golfer. And when they find their niche, it's just such a joy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I'm one, I like to give my kids the opportunity to do everything. And the grandkids, and all my kids do different things. My oldest one was very athletic, and he loved baseball. He got his love for baseball, and he's now the athletic director and head baseball coach at San Diego Christian University in San Diego.
That's great.
And so he's loving life doing that. He had a chance to play for the Cardinals for a couple of years. Unfortunately, injury cut that short, but he's still loving it, and he's ministering to kids and coaching baseball. So he's doing that. My middle son loves cars.
That's his thing.
That's his thing. So he's been, all over working on cars, worked for Tesla and everything else. And then my daughter found her niche in musical theater, and she did that for a long time and everything else. And you can't complain when you see the joy when they do things.
Oh, yeah. And you look at
fun.
them and you're just so proud of them.
You're very proud
and
of them.
And you go, I accidentally did all the right things as a parent.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
With God's help.
Somehow it worked out.
Yeah.
And I think God had a big hand in it, because I think I messed it up a bunch.
Oh, of course, none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
Talk about coaching. Speaking of coaching, you're coaching at Calvary.
I am,
Calvary Chapel.
Calvary Chapel, now to be Awakened Christian Academy, but it's something I've done for 27 years prior to this.
Wow.
I took a couple years off when I first moved down here, and this opportunity came back up, so I'm loving it. What a way to pour into young men's lives, get to be on campus every day with them, and teach them the game of football, and teach them some life lessons during that game.
Isn't that the key, though?
That's the key.
I mean, football is a game, and it's a great game and a great life lesson, but to see young men grow up straight and tall and understand teamwork and deal with adversity is a joy, isn't it?
It is, and you find your niche in how you coach and what you do. I had one of those cases, adversity today, because we're getting ready to work out at 8 o'clock, and about 10 minutes to 8 I get a call from one of the boys' moms, and she says, Parker was in an accident. He's up on the side of 215. I said, between where? I jumped in my truck and left. I told the other assistant coach, I said, you got him, I'll be back. And when I came back, the boys were like, you went to check on Parker? I said, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And so they kind of start to feel that this is a little different. This is about becoming a family and caring for each other.
It's not just about the W's.
It's not just about winning. Winning's fun, but there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both your son and you followed the Lord into coaching at Christian schools. Tell me why that's preferable in your view.
Well, I think because you have the opportunity not only to build young men, but you have the opportunity to build young men with Jesus.
Yeah.
And nothing could be better than that.
Oh, yeah.
That's the foundation. That's the rock they need to start with. And so when you're in a Christian environment, you can share that.
Sure.
And you can get into those deep discussions. And it's a lot of fun. If you're in a public school, you can't do that.
I know.
You can't do it. You are forbidden to do that.
Yeah.
And so I've always, I've been in both public schools and private schools.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it's a lot more fun in a private school and in a Christian school that will allow you to tell the kids that you love them and, that Jesus loves them. That's the best part.
Yeah, I taught for several years at a Christian college.
Yeah.
And although I was teaching them business and media courses, we could talk about Jesus all day if we wanted to.
Yeah.
I had one of my students said he was writing at the end of every quarter. They tell on you.
Yeah.
How did he do?
Right. Yeah. Like, your evaluation.
Yeah. And I really liked one of them when the young man wrote, because I knew who wrote it, even though it was anonymous. He wrote, "Why isn't Professor Davidson teaching in the Bible classes instead of business?"
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of an honor.
It is always good, and when you can incorporate it in what you do, and I tell people all the time, life's hard.
Yeah.
And I tell the boys, life's hard. And I said, football's a great game because every 30 seconds somebody's going to knock you down. You got to figure out if you're going to get back up.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What do you say?" I said, "Well, follow the life of Jesus." I said, "Did people tell him he was, crazy and couldn't do things?" Well, guess what? He didn't allow that to happen.
Yes.
All I ask is to just keep coming back.
Wow.
And when you can teach those types of life lessons, it's invaluable.
Our nation obviously has changed, since you and I were kids.
Yes.
In a big way, and I don't think it's a coincidence that in the '60s they took the Bible out of school and they took the Ten Commandments out of schools, and I sure would love to see that come back. Maybe under this Supreme Court it will.
Yeah, you'd like to see it come back, and you're right. In the 60s, in the early 70s, it became okay for college professors to tell kids what to think.
Yes.
And that's not right.
Yeah.
I think that everybody needs to go out and find out for themselves.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you got to, you've got to read the scriptures. You got to go research and do your own homework.
Yes, you do.
And find out what works for you, not be told what works for you. And I think that's where a lot of the shift came in.
Oh yeah. Let's go to the present now and spend a little bit of time on Shiloh Ranch. Tell me about your ranch and what you're doing out there. You're doing some remarkable stuff.
It's been a lot of fun. My partner, J.P. Hoffman, is a Army veteran who's a cowboy through and through. His family's been in the ranch business forever. If you would have asked me 40 years ago, I'd end up back on a ranch. I would have told you were crazy. But so with the Liberty Projects, vetsandhorses.org is the website. It's the Liberty Projects. We rescue the wild Mustangs from around Nevada and all over.
Okay.
We give them a second chance, and then we bring veterans, our combat veterans, in and teach them all about the horse and do equine therapy. And our saying on the ranch is very simply, for the horse and the veterans, give us one more day. Wow. Let's just keep building on it and give us one more day. And we try to repurpose not only the horse for a better life, but our veterans to come through and have a better life and keep going. So it's very rewarding. I and we at the ranch, everybody that works down there, get as much out of it as our veterans do, if not more. And we're able to do some incredible things. We work on their PTSD with a program called Brain Paint and everything else.
Tell me about that.
So it's a neurofeedback program. Okay. And a lot of our combat veterans and a lot of football players, anybody that's had traumatic injury or anything, you really don't want to talk about it and relive it. And everybody says, "Oh, go to therapy and talk about it." Nobody wants to do that, especially our combat veterans. They've seen things.
They don't want to relive all that.
They don't want to relive that. So a VA doctor has come up with a program on a computer where we put electrodes on them, and it reprograms their brain over a 4 to 6 week period.
Really?
And the success rate is phenomenal. It's about 85% with the cure of the PTSD, and that gives them a chance to go out and refunction. Because I will tell you, a couple of months ago, we had a group of about 6 veterans out.
Right.
And we were walking over to one of the corrals where we had 3 of our wild Mustangs in, and we were probably 75 yards away, and the horses were getting excited. You know, they got people coming over, and one reared up and everything else. This young lady absolutely froze in her tracks. She had served 2 terms, and she froze in her tracks. And I just looked at her and I thought to myself, what in the world has she been through?
Yeah.
That beautiful horse, just by raising up, would scare her.
Yeah.
You know, so we walked back in, and then about an hour later we walked back out, and she ended up feeding that horse a carrot, which was amazing, you know, just the progress. And it's a beautiful relationship, because these wild Mustangs are a mirror to you. And that's why it works so well with combat veterans, because if they walk up angry, they're going to get an angry horse. So they've got to learn to calm themselves before they get anywhere near that horse, because you don't want a 1,200-pound wild Mustang mad at you. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. So it's a great therapy. It really works, you know, for both parties, and it's been a lot of fun to watch it develop.
Now, the wild Mustangs must be hard to break, are they?
They are. They are. We have.
They've had a life out there.
They have a life out there. We actually have a stallion that we have with us. We've had him for about 2.5 months, and he is yet to be in the barn.
Wow.
Because we can lead him, we can put a lead rope on him and do a bunch of things. We get near the barn, he's like, nope, not going in the barn. I'm not giving up my freedom.
Yeah.
So, you know, when a 1,200-pound Mustang puts his hoofs in the ground, you're not moving it. So I don't care how big you are. So it's a lot of fun to see, you know, their personalities change, and they have to get comfortable with you. And in order to do that, you've got to be comfortable, and you've got to be pretty calm to be around them.
Yeah. Maybe JP is a horse whisperer like my son is.
It's really funny. I watch him train these wild Mustangs, and he really is. You know, he does things. He's out there. He'll whistle and he'll say, "Give me 2 eyes," and that Mustang will stop and turn and stare right at him. And I'm like, how in the world do you do that? You know, but it takes a special human being, and to be able to do that. And you know, I'm not going to kid you. It's as much therapy for JP as it is anybody else. Okay. You know, he's been through a lot too, so him being around the horses is a good thing. Yeah.
My son, the one I was telling you in the break, owns the hunting lodge up in the San Gabriel Mountains, turned it into a home. When he was in high school, he had gone to several Y camps, horse camps, and really loved it. And he said, I want a horse. And I said, well, you know, I want a Thunderbird, so what can I tell you? And I said, go see if you can muck out some stalls and get the use of a horse. And darned if he didn't do it and stick with it.
Yeah.
And before you know it, he was working for the guy that owned the ranch, who was a horse whisperer. I will tell you, some of the best times I've had has been mucking the stalls of these wild Mustangs. Yeah, I'll put my phone in my back pocket and I'll turn on my country music, and they'll follow you around. It's hilarious, you know. All of a sudden you turn around and you got this big horse right behind you, you know. And, so you got to be careful, but it's enjoyable. It really is. Wow.
Yeah.
So you're getting as much fun out of this as the vets are, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. We enjoy it, and we get as much pleasure every time that we get a vet that goes through, and we can get him back into a semi-normal life. You know, some of these guys will never be normal. Okay, some of these guys and gals will never be. They've seen some stuff, but we want them to be functioning, good citizens. And when we can do that, it's a blessing for all of us, and that's our goal.
That's a great goal to have.
Yeah.
Another segment is raced by. It's hard to believe. We're going to take a brief break. Jay Schroeder is going to talk about his faith, because I'm going to ask him.
Yeah.
And some more about what he's up to with his ministries. Right after this.
I was very fortunate when I started my career in Washington, and there was a group out there called the Hogettes, the guys that would dress up like hogs and all that. They're all vets, and they all went to Children's Hospital to visit dressed up like that, just to give the kids a smile. That's what it's about. We want to be able to let these vets know they're honored, okay, and there's life after coming back.
So where we're headed became a dream of mine literally about 3 years ago. I'm very active in multiple veteran organizations. I would get a lot of phone calls from parents or spouses. Hey, my son came back different, my husband's acting different, can you come help? And so that made us come up with the dream of we have to have a dedicated location. It just kind of took off beyond our wildest dreams on that front.
That's his comfort zone. That's his peaceful spot when he's out there with the horses and he's teaching somebody else and they get it. Man, he shines really bright.
He thinks that he's going to help other people, and I think that he's going to be able to help himself too.
People need to know we're struggling, because they see their struggle in us.
Did I suffer? Did I go through the VA stuff? Absolutely. So I can relate to the guys going through it because I've been there.
We want to give them a place where they can come, where it's peaceful, they know they're loved, and they'll walk away with that love. That's the whole bottom line.
You downrange, you're doing all the things. You come back, you feel like a wild Mustang here, because everybody else is so docile, so in their lane. You gotta really wrestle with it, I imagine, if you're gonna break a wild Mustang, because he's just wild.
When the Mustangs are transitioning from the wild, they have to get taught new training and learn just a whole new skill set. And I believe that's why the veterans and the Mustangs are such a great match. They alone will know and empathize with each other.
Is it hard work? Yeah, but you know what? It's nothing compared to what they've been through. So we're very fortunate to be able to do what we do.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. Jay Schroeder is our very special guest. During the break, we looked at his Super Bowl ring. Hold that thing up.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. They're nice to have. It's this is what you play for. You know, the money comes and goes, but when you're on a championship, when you realize that they're on Super Bowl 56 and you average about 45 players a game, you know, on the winning team, you know, even times 56, there's not a whole lot of guys walking around with Super Bowl rings.
There's only a couple of thousand.
Yeah, so it's very unique to be a player to have a ring.
Yeah, my friend Randy Rich, who played for the Broncos, was in a Super Bowl, and that's what he told me. At 50, Super Bowl 50, you know, that they made a huge deal out of that. And he said the same thing. There's only a couple thousand guys that ever did this in 50 years.
And I know some guys that are greedy. You know, I played with Matt Millen, who was a linebacker, and he's got 6 of them. I'm like, you're just greedy. You know, he went from team to team. He was very fortunate.
Happened to be there.
He happened to be there and everything else. So, yeah, some guys get the fortune doing that. But I'm very happy to have one, that's for sure.
Oh, wow. Speaking of fortune, did you ever think that it would be this kind of money that these guys are making today?
Well, I mean, it's incredible money that they're making today, and it's all driven by television. You know, it is. And, you know, people ask me, are you upset that these guys are getting paid? No, that's the going rate, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Would I have liked to make that money? Of course, wouldn't we all? But, you know, that wasn't the way it was back then, and we were very happy playing the game and enjoyed it. So I'd go back and do it again in a heartbeat, no question about it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great attitude. Let's go back to the Shiloh Ranch for a minute. It has the largest mesquite tree?
The largest grouping of mesquite oak trees in the Sandy Valley, yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so we've got these beautiful mesquite oak trees all around. In summertime, they bloom. They got these beautiful yellow blooms on them, and
that's a
you just can't.
tree.
Yeah, but you just can't get too close to them because they do have some sharp, jagged edges, and so you got to be careful. And you know, the horses don't care. So if you're on the back of one of those horses, and
they'll just run right through.
They'll run through there. They don't care, but it'll tear you up pretty good. But yeah, it's beautiful. You know, it's desert, but we have these beautiful mesquite trees out there, and it's phenomenal. It's very peaceful.
Wow. A ways to commute though for you.
It is.
You have an office here, right? And
I'm coaching here now in town. So we have people that stay out there. We have a family that stays out there. Sabrina, Mike, and Brianna, their daughter, are out there full time. They run the ranch. They're phenomenal. Brianna's 19, and she has fallen in love with the horses. And
a horsewoman now.
And you know, she was a city girl that all of a sudden fell fell in love. Now she takes care of all the horses, the feed, the medicine, everything. And it's just, it's a lot of fun to watch when that light goes on, and just the joy that she has around the horses. So it's been very nice.
I've heard about equine therapy for kids at risk and intellectually challenged kids and things like that. What is there about horses that makes them such good comfort animals, if you will?
Well, as I was saying before, the reason they do that so well is because they reflect the person that's coming to them. They're definitely a mirror to your soul, and they will love on you if you love on them. You walk out up calm. I can go down there now and take you into the corral of a wild Mustang, and he'll come over, and if he thinks you're calm, he'll nudge you. He'll rub up against you. And so they just have that sense. They understand the human being, and it's a miracle. It's one of God's greatest gifts, I guess. It's the only way to explain it. God's given them the ability to help our soul heal, and we're just fortunate we can use them.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's got to cost a lot to run this ranch.
It does. Yeah. Unfortunately, it does. It's quite expensive. It's quite expensive to run the programs for the vets and everything else. So we are a full 501c3 charity. We're always looking for donations. We have a dinner auction coming up in September 24th here at South Point, and everything is online on our website. So again, that's vetsandhorses.org. You can
vetsandhorses.org. We'll put that up there so you can.
Yeah, Vets and Horses, spell out and everything else. So all that information is there. Yeah, it no bones about it. It gets expensive. It's not a cheap proposition, that's for sure. And then on top of that, we've got 40 acres out there, so we got a big piece of property.
Somebody famous used to own it.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. The ranch was developed by Tony Curtis and his wife, and they were the ones that named it Shiloh Ranch, which biblically speaking means place of peace. And it's awesome, and so they did a lot of the development, and we want to keep that heritage. We don't want to get rid of it. So the stables are still big signs out there that say "Some Like It Hot Stables." From the movie. We don't want to get rid of that. We want people to understand the history of what was out there and what took place. And his wife at the time, Jill, was a horse lover, and they had about 200 horses out there.
Wow.
And then she couldn't say no to any other animals, so they had all kinds of other things out there at one point in time too. So we're very fortunate that we've come to have that.
Well, it's great to carry on that legacy.
Yeah, I think he started something. We want to keep in that tradition. We're just building upon it. That's all.
Let's talk about the future of the ranch and your ministries. Where do you want to go with it? What else do you want to do?
The ultimate goal would be having about 10 ranches around the United States.
Okay.
Yeah, to duplicate this. Our goal is to train all the vets to be able to train the horses, take care of the horses and all that, and send them out to do it around the country. Wow. Because we can't have everybody come here to Vegas. We'd like to go and start them in other places, obviously Texas, Southeast, North, wherever we can plant them. But that's the goal. We'd love to have, 10 or 12 around the country, rehab facilities, because we have vets all over the country that could use our help.
Oh, how do you find the vets to come out there? Do doctors refer them, or how do you?
We're connected with every organization possible, and we try not to turn them away, but unfortunately, because of the cost, we have to turn them away, and there's only so many we can do. But we're working on it. We're trying to get there so we don't have to say no to anybody. But there's more vets around there. We actually had a sad case. We had a lady email us a couple of months ago that had connections with about 1,500 vets that she would like to run through our program. And we had to tell her no, just because we can't afford it at this point in time.
Yeah.
So once we find the funding, we get them from every branch. We don't discriminate against any branch. I mean, if they need help, we want to try to help them.
Wow. So this is your opportunity. Send donations, and
yes,
right
please.
Here's the is the address, and they can click on donate here or something.
Click on donate here, and it'll go directly in. It's a 501c3, so you can get a tax write-off on it and everything else. So we look forward, and we do thank you.
What are you going to do for the fundraiser? Anything special, or have a special guest?
Yeah, we're going to have music. We're going to have some music. You get to dress up as a cowboy, and we'll have a silent auction and some music and a very nice dinner over at South Point, and just make it a fun night. Cowboys are good at hanging out and just enjoying time, and that's what we want to do.
Enjoying each other.
And enjoying each other, and in the process, we'll raise some money to help some vets and to help some horses.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I believe that Jesus is central to your life.
Yes.
And clearly to your ministry. And as I indicated earlier, we have millions of people watch this show all around the world, even mainland China, believe it or not. And so many of them don't know Christ. And if you don't mind, I'd like to impose upon you. I sort of warned you I was going to do this. This is your camera right here. And take all the time you want. Explain why Jesus is important to you. I think you've done a lot of that already. But to say, if you're lost, if you feel that God has passed you by, and especially if you're a veteran, and you have PTSD or you have problems because of your service, Jesus can be a big help to you. So whatever the Holy Spirit puts on you.
Well, first and foremost, there's only one perfect human being that's ever walked the face of the earth. So we all have issues, and we need to find how we connect. And that connection for me has been Jesus Christ. And that's the ultimate healer. He's the ultimate healer. He's the ultimate thought. His work, his prayers, I mean, we can tap into it. My favorite verse is Ephesians 3:20 and 21. Basically says, he can do exceedingly abundantly more than we ever ask or think.
Amen.
The power that works through us. And we have to understand that. It's his power that works through us. And prayer is a major connection to that. And I tell people all the time, prayer is great, but you also have to have that quiet time where you sit and listen.
Yeah.
That's very important. And because if you don't listen to God's word, you can't follow what God has in store for you. And I was very fortunate that I had a gentleman, Rip challenged me, and he's like, just listen to what God has to say, and he'll guide you and direct you. Are you going to have a blessed life, unbelievable? Yes, but you're also going to have some tough times. And, we're human. We run into struggles, and there's no better saving grace than knowing that Jesus has got your back. And if there was one person that I'd ever want to have my back, that's Jesus. And I made that decision a long time ago, and he's never let me down. If we struggled, absolutely. But I know that I'm not alone in my struggles. I know that he is there with me all the time. All I got to do is ask, and he's there. And that's been the blessing for me. And now I get the opportunity between coaching the kids and being around the veterans and being with the horses to see God's amazing grace. That's what it's all about. And he's given me a life where I can give back and be a part. And in the process, I get blessed amazingly. I get more blessings than anybody could ever think of. So it's not, I have this, I have that. I have God's blessings. And that's all I need in life. And I can move from there.
Oh, that's a great, great story. And I believe that you helped a lot of people just now.
Well, I hope so. I hope, the bottom line is I'm very much go seek and find for yourself. Yes. That's what you have to do.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you have to get into God's word and really understand it and listen to it. And once you do that, he will come in, and he'll come in, he'll come in blazing. There's no question about it. And you'll know. And then it's easy to follow him. And, people say there's a lot of rules and regulations. There's one rule. Just try to be like Jesus.
Yeah.
That's all we need to do.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, good things will happen.
And love him the way he loves us, and love others the way he loves us.
That's the thing. If you look, your track record, and people out there all the time say, well, I'm not worthy and all that. Well, you need to go read the Bible, because he took in some of the lows of the lows. Okay?
That's for sure.
And let me tell you something, they became great men of God.
Yes.
And, you know, no matter what you did in your past or anything else, he can change that and he can help you walk through it.
Yeah. You know, it always amazes me that the Lord chose me to do this now international television show to glorify his name. I go, like, what did I ever do to deserve this?
Yeah.
And what an honor it is to serve him.
It is.
And it's not a drag. I mean, come on. You know, I have nothing but fun, you know.
That's it.
And I get to interview great guys like you, great people that have great stories to tell. And I'm curious about people, so it's a great excuse to invite them and ask them a lot of questions.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I just want to thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Even more than that, for the life you've led since you got out of football.
Well, thank you.
Not every ex-professional athlete has even come close to what you've done with your life, above and beyond the game.
Again, it's not what I've done. It's what God has called me to do.
Yeah.
And
you listened.
And you listen.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's taken me all around the country. It's taken me all around the world.
The White House, right?
Yeah, it's taken me to the White House. It's taken me to Seoul, South Korea. It's taken me to London. It's taken me to Japan. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's been a fun ride. I don't think it's over. Yeah, so I think I got some time left to go, and I'm excited to see what happens.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Jay Schroeder, ladies and gentlemen, what a great man of God. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
What a great, great guest. You got to come back.
I will.
Yeah. After you make $1 million at the dinner.
There you go.
I want you to come and report that.
I would love that. Would be a huge blessing. That's
There
for
you
sure.
Go. It's really worthy, very worthy charity. So we hope you all dig deep and help Jay Schroeder out with the Shiloh Ranch. And as I try to remember to say each and every episode of Las Vegas Tonight, when it comes to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, please walk with him. God bless you.
Country grace in a holy place, a shining star on heaven's
Across the ages, humanity is often gathered in prayer, especially in times of crisis and need. It's a natural response, but who are we speaking to? Is prayer merely a platitude or emotional cliche? Yahoo! Or is there a God on the other end of the line? And if so, can we speak to him? And what is he saying? What exactly is prayer? Theologian John Piper describes prayer as intentionally conveying a message to God. He also outlines 3 main approaches to prayer, which each depend on how you view God. If your perspective is that God is in everything and everything is God, including you, me, the sunrise, the humpback whale, the smoke lightly wafting from his sun. Well, you get the picture. Prayer from this perspective is all about connecting with the divinity within us and around us. The only problem is that if we are part of God, prayer can feel like a one-sided conversation. If you feel like God exists, but he's distant and unapproachable, then prayer can become about developing special techniques or higher levels of devotion and holiness in order for our words to reach God's ears. Hello. Or we just give up trying. However, when you read the Christian Bible, God shows himself not to be distant or silent, but to be personable, accessible, and a creator who speaks. In the creation story, we see him literally speak each created thing into existence, as if to open an external conversation with his creation. Howdy. And throughout the Bible, he consistently speaks to humanity. So if God speaks, how do we speak to him? A big part of God's conversation with humanity was the person of Jesus, who God sent to earth as the human manifestation of himself.
Thank you very much.
So that he could talk to us directly. The Bible literally refers to Jesus as the Word, God's Word. And he gave a direct answer when his friends asked him about how to speak to God. Jesus says prayer is simply and honestly talking to God. If something is on your mind, if there's a situation where you don't know what to do, you can talk to God about it. You don't have to pray in a church, and you don't have to sound religious. God loves you and wants you to be real with him. You can pray out loud. You can pray silently. He listens wherever and whenever. So how do we hear God? God's voice is described in the Bible as a still, small voice. Many people hear back from God by quieting the noise around them and pausing to listen. Or by reading the Bible, which God also calls his Word. The more you talk with someone, the more you get to know who they are. The God who speaks has started the conversation. If you haven't spoken in a while, why don't you try to pick it up again? It could change your life.
Come on and shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with your host, Dale Davidson. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of our show. We so appreciate your loyalty to our program. To keep Las Vegas Tonight on the air, please go to our website, vegassaints.org, and click the Donate button. To send a check or money order, please make it out to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries and mail it to 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To suggest a guest to appear on the show or any other suggestions or questions, write to Dale at dalewdavidson@yahoo.com or call him at 702-480-3989.